So I publish a bunch of my stuff via Kobo, and so I'm Canadian, and I didn't actually realize till I came to the States that Canadians spell a bastard version between the U.S. and Canada. So I've actually sort of adopted my own additional bastardized version, and I just run that everywhere. And it's just sort of a deal with it. And it's never been a problem, actually. I dropped the U's because I just got tired of typing. But otherwise, it's mostly the Commonwealth. My policy is actually the Americans can suck it up and realize everybody else spells things is okay, too.
With as much as Michael writes, him dropping one U allows him to get another book out a month.
Exactly.
We're actually, something that we haven't mentioned, but because of my word for this year is discoverability, we're going to be going wide with some of our 400 new titles.
Woo!
So one of the things that was new to me was the concept of Amazon Advantage ads. I've run into issues with regular Amazon ads for being rejected for certain keywords. If you write reverse harem, which I don't, but MMF, MMM, Amazon rejects all those. Is that going to be an issue in the Advantage ads as well? Since they're only based on the cover and not on an actual ad text.
The Advantage ads, you don't get to put any text in, so they're auto-approved.
They're auto-approved, so they don't block any categories.
I can't snap my fingers, but yeah, they just go like that. Well, if you do the headline ones, you put text in, and those they look at, but the regular sponsored ones, they just get approved instantly.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, the keywords would be any of the same. Yeah, if you use things in keywords that cause problems, then you'll have the same problems that you would with regular Amazon. But I think it'd be retroactive because they get approved instantly, so they must maybe they look for them later. I don't know. Maybe they just trust you more. Thanks, Alex. I need to have you in my ear or something like that.
I'm curious about Facebook ads and D2D links, if you're seeing any differences using those as opposed to just direct to the stores.
Is this for me too?
Yes.
Sorry.
Michael's now the new Dan Wood.
Right now, I always advertise directly to the store. I'm super paranoid about someone else's site going down and me losing sales. So I know the retailers care a lot, and they put a lot of money in their sites being up. So I send my people there directly. I know that there's a lot of advantages to doing other options, but having been in software for so long, I have an innate lack of trust in other people's redirects.
Follow-up question, do you ever have issues with landing page experience on Facebook?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So sometimes when you create ads, they'll say made inactive due to landing page experience.
Oh, because you're sending the link somewhere that's taking too long to load.
Okay.
They have a new landing page version of their ads, which is like basically you're sending people somewhere that's slow to load, and they sort of accept that a little bit more. But I don't have that problem because I send people directly to the retailers because they work really hard.
The issue I had was sending to Amazon, so I didn't know if there maybe was a glitch or something.
Maybe Amazon was having a glitch or something.
Okay. Thank you.
That goes against everything I just said.
Hi there. This question's for all of you, really, anybody that would answer. But for those of us who are pretty new, like I have a marketing background, but I've only published one book. So I have to figure out how to translate that into publishing success. I think I heard every one of you say that at some point you did something different. You didn't necessarily listen to exactly what those who had come before you did. So how do you decide? When do you listen to your gut and say, you know what, I'm going to try something different?
Oh, pick me.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the two things I would advocate for any author that wants to be successful is A, think like a reader. How are your readers finding books? And you may be wrong about that. But if you start running experiments that match your hypothesis, you're going to find that some of them work and some of them don't. And when you hit on the ones that work, you double down on those avenues, and all of a sudden you've got flows of readers. So I've just created the Magic Tech Chronicles role-playing game. That's not going to work in every genre, but in my genre, there's lots and lots of geeks that are looking for this kind of material, and that's going to be another way to feed people in. And it's an experiment. You know what? It could still fail. I haven't launched it yet. But I'm willing to try that so that I can get more eyeballs on my work. So I would recommend that whatever your genre is, think like a reader and try to just follow through with whatever experiment your gut says you should try.
I think a couple people have said this, but really starting out, the more books you can write, the better. Your advertising dollars are going to go a lot farther if you have more books and readers. You're not trying to just make a profit off of a single title. When you have a series or even a bunch of standalones you can direct readers to, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck when you start marketing.
Nothing sells the next book like or whatever, Last book like the next book. That's a
Nobody
correct
sells the
thing.
last book like the next book.
Thank you.
Teresa.
So this is a BookBud ad question. You said that it was better to be flexible with the date on the featured BookBub ads, but on the new release ones, is there a way to be flexible with the date? Can you submit before you put in your Amazon pre-order date?
Not right now. You do have to have the book up on a retailer somewhere in order for our system to recognize it. So that's something we might try to work on if we have enough interest for people who want to submit well in advance but are doing live releases or shorter pre-orders. So it's something that we're exploring, but right now it has to be up on a retailer for us to even recognize it in our system.
Okay, because Amazon really doesn't let you change the date once you have it.
Jim.
Thank you. I have a BookBub question too, and that is from the reader's point of view, from the member's point of view, and I am a former member of BookBub, and I will tell you why former, and that is two things. First of all, I realized I was giving a lot of information to you folks, and I just wondered whether you keep it all to yourself or whether that's a secondary market for you. And second, I have an app on my PC which tracks those little bots that get attached to your website and figure out who's been clicking on to your website and how long they stay and that sort of thing. And you have like 30 who are tracking me going to you and looking at your books. And that kind of freaked me out. So I said, well, I don't need this that much. So I'm curious as to what your security issues are.
We don't share our readers' data anywhere. We don't share it with authors. We don't share it with any other companies. We do collect click information because that feeds into the ad platform. So readers who are clicking on books and authors on our website and in our emails, we track that data so that authors can then use it in the ad targeting. But you could never trace anything back to an individual reader. We're extremely careful about protecting everyone's privacy.
Thank you.
But I'm sorry that was a bad experience for you.
Hi, this is for Michelangelo. So how do you get a job interview? Specifically, do you open up for author submissions?
We have two different ways, but predominantly the main way that people are getting in that are new authors is we have what's called the fans write for the fans. What we found with these large universes, when I would reach out to other authors, they would be all gung-ho about coming in and learning everything they needed to learn and writing a book. And then they would see the sheer quantity of books that was necessary to understand the universe, and then they would start writing. And so we finally asked them, after the beta readers are going, none of this makes sense. And they're like, what are you talking about? And our first question would be, well, how many of these books have you read? Well, I got to 1.5, and I got excited, so I started writing. Okay, that doesn't work. So the fans write for the fans, you actually can go in. You can't make it into one of those books without being canon approved. So that has become a filter. So our first fans write for the fans, we actually hired 3 of the authors out of there. And so that, at the moment, has become a way to get into any of our universes. And then beyond that, probably just us meeting.
Age of Magic ran a...
Yeah, Amy Hopkins ran, so she's one of the age runners. I failed to mention her yesterday, but she's one of the new ones. And she actually runs things. So I'd suggest hitting up Amy. And since she's not here right now, she's back in Australia, I'm sure she's going to be
So you
awake.
then? So come to you instead?
On the 20 Books of 50K group, I posted for Age of Magic. It was an Age of Magic open call, and that's the only one that we've had so far as open.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I've got a BookBub question. For the cost per click ads, you mentioned that in your tests you had 8 comparable authors, and I'm trying to figure out if that is a great number or what is a great number of comp authors to run per ad.
That's a good question. I don't know that there's a number that's better or worse. I see a lot of people doing individual authors to get really granular data, and that's something we're actually working on to make that easier so you don't have to spin up a ton of ads, one for each author. A lot of people will start with that, the sort of individual tests, and then once they've found a large number of authors that deliver the kind of results they're looking for, they'll combine them into one ad that they'll run longer term. So you do get more data when you include fewer authors, but if you want to run an ad with sort of a larger audience, it's better to add more authors in. But definitely something to play around with and see what works best for you. Any of you?
I've noticed during this whole conference, nobody so far has said anything about Goodreads. Is Goodreads worth using at all, or should you just use other tools to market your books?
Stay far, far away from Goodreads. All right, so here's the deal, and this is why you're hearing all this clapping. People on Goodreads tend to be very critical, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they're also very protective of their community. And so if you as an author start showing up on Goodreads, I've seen campaigns where they'll go attack someone's book and they'll do 1 stars, and you'll have a 1-star brigade where like 150 people will all put a 1 star on the same book, and then all of a sudden that book just tanks. So I tread carefully there. I do list my books on Goodreads, but I'm a little bit reticent to interact with the community for some reason.
So recently in this year, we contacted Goodreads. And so what we found out was a little bit different. Unlike, say, BookBub, where you can go in and target particular authors, they have a little bit of that platform, but what they are really about is a much bigger spend. They really don't like to talk to people until you do $7,000. And then for us, we spoke to them recently, and we're looking to sign a contract, but we have to kind of front, I think it's $60,000 that we're willing to spend in 2019 in order to get a connection with their project manager on their ads. And that is not, they don't have a direct-to-sale model like Michael's talking about or any of the others up here, where you can go direct to Amazon. What they're really doing is they're trying to create an affinity and a people to be made aware of your book. And so Goodreads themselves have heard this from the big publishers and know that they need to go to a direct model to the best of their ability, but that's never been what they've been about. It's always about discoverability, a little, is that funnel, it's the step above getting something. But also from the fact that it just requires a lot of money to get their attention.
Yeah, so I was wondering if anyone's had any significant success with selling books through Ingram or Ingram Spark to retailers as opposed to Amazon KDP.
We'll take that as a no.
Thank you.
Cricket noises.
Decide.
I wonder about the consensus of pricing. For example, in the U.S., we price everything 99 cents or $2.99 or $5.99. So I wonder in other countries, is that a trend as well? So if Amazon suggests that you price your book at least at $381 or 3,491 yen, should you be rounding up to make everything 99 on the end of those prices as well?
I'll take that one. So I was just in Germany for my Extinction Cycle books have been translated, and they, the publisher there doesn't discount their books, and that's actually something. And by the way, Germany is probably the second biggest ebook market, from what I understand. And they're not actually able to lower prices. There's like a law there, so here it's way different. And I know your question's a little bit about pricing too, on like what good pricing is. But that is just something I wanted to share because other countries do things differently. Also, there's taxes in Australia, for example. So whenever I discount books in Australia, it has to actually be, I have to manually do it, but you can't run like Kindle Countdown deals, for example, there. So there's a lot of different rules in different territories, and oftentimes it has to do with taxes as well. That answers some.
Perhaps just adding to the pricing question, you mentioned 99 cents and $2.99 being the most frequent prices. Looking at the data of the top 24,000 displayed search results on Amazon, that is not the case. The most frequent price point is the $3.99 and $2.99 price point. When you then start multiplying it with the sales rank potential inherent in the books and the price of the books, the most revenue generating price point is the $4.99 price point on those 24,000 books.
I actually also do a fun thing where I run sales, where I take a $3.99 book and make it $4.29. I do that in the U.S. and it actually works pretty well. Because people think it's a $4.99. Well, I don't advertise it as a sale. People think it's a $4.99 book that was discounted. So you can do things like that everywhere, where you play around with those last decimals.
What a devious son of a bitch! I applaud you, sir.
I like experimenting. I like trying new things.
If I could add just one thing, if you put your book up for $4.99 and Amazon says this is going to sell for $5, $22 in Australia. If you just go and move it to $4.99 or up to like a $5.49, it looks like you're paying attention. And if you think about that reader experience who's coming through and they see that book, and this book costs $3.14, it's kind of like, are you making a pie joke, or is there something kind of wrong? The first impression I would get is that it's sloppy. So if you just it takes you 2 seconds to change it, and then I don't think anyone's going to be like, well, it's $4.27 or it's $4.29, and I don't think there's going to get people who are going to make that price distinction too much. So just make it look, a little bit more polished, and have the price in line with everything else. Don't, this is not the time to be a rebel unless you're doing something fun.
I have a pricing question as well, and I was thinking it was for, I'm sorry, is it Carly Book Club?
Carlin. Very close, yes.
But Alex, feel free to jump in too.
Closer to
So, on the pricing for a long time, sorry, I always have a height issue with the mic. So for a long time, $1.99 was like the death price that we were always told, do not charge $1.99. But I feel like I'm seeing more and more of the $1.99 box sets in BookBub. So I was wondering if you guys have seen anything in the data about sales now on $1.99 price points.
I have also heard that $1.99 just doesn't work. I find that very surprising because it definitely sells a lot of copies for us. I've seen it for box sets. The higher price points can support more sales because it obviously is a better deal when you get multiple books for the same price. So $1.99 or $2.99, especially box set, can be great for ROI. But I'm also seeing authors do standalone books for $1.99 as well, and that's working. So certainly not a dead zone, I think. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to add that I don't think that it is a consumer side issue. It's that if you're at $1.99, why not go to $2.99 and get 70% and double your revenue? So I don't think it has anything to do with the inability to sell them at $1.99. It's a case of, wow, you're really close to making twice as much money. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I concur with that.
You go to $4.29.
It was a really good Ford motor, okay?
Yeah, this is a BookBub question. If you're in more of a niche genre, where even the biggest authors have maybe a few hundred followers, do you have any advice on targeting comparable authors then for your ads?
Yeah, that's tricky if it's going to be a smaller pool. Potentially, I would expect that those would be really engaged readers, would be the one good thing, but probably harder to achieve the scale. The reality is we do have a very large audience, but it's not necessarily going to be representative of the entire marketplace or have every subgenre that's going to work for our audience. So certainly something to keep in mind. We skew heavily female, a little bit older, so there's some genres that just are not going to work with our current readership. I hope that you'd be able to find readers on our platform, but it might be that other advertising venues are a better opportunity for you right now.
Okay, thanks.
Just to add to that, something that you might try doing is doing the author bots for those people and then do another level below.
Okay, I have a question, and I just, all you do is just answer which professional organizations for authors do you belong to? I'll start, I belong to SFWA, Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America, and NINC.
I currently don't belong to an authors organization, but that may change.
I belong to SFWA.
Not an author.
I don't belong to any of them because if I don't sign up for NINC, they pay me to come to the conference.
Softball. Chris Fox was not paid to come to this conference.
You people are cool.
I belong to any as well.
I'm quitting NINC, and no, I belong to NINC, I belong to SFWA, and since we have some romance out, I might end up going, don't let Martel know this, but I might end up going to the romance stuff too.
Oh, that'd be right.
Craig can wear his kilt.
If Michael goes, I might have to go too. Ali is another great organization that you can join.
Part of them.
Oh yeah, I love Ali too. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I belong to 20Books.
How many people
We don't
belong
charge
to
a
20Books?
penny.
Just curious.
No membership fee from us. This side.
Okay, just on the going wide, selling direct thing, assuming someday I have enough fans to make this worthwhile, how difficult is the tax part of selling direct with a PayPal button or some other, book funnel or whatever? Is that like really hard?
It's kind of a Damon question.
Because it's
appreciated it
international, right?
earlier.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Wrong.
No. It's actually fine. I think it's going to depend on the pay company that you go through. In general, most of them pay it. If you find something that you have to be doing it, you need to go find somewhere else to do it, because that's not part of your business that you need to be worried about.
Okay, thanks.
This side.
In AMS, I wonder who and when should we be using negative keywords when we're making ads? For example, if you're a fantasy author, do you want to say football as a negative keyword, or does anyone have experience with that?
Well, I would just say that if you've created several thousand-word lists, you're running ads, and maybe you created the list. Well, the way I create the list, I use KDP Rocket, and I don't really look at the words. I don't really curate the list. I just check. But then if I go back in and I notice, oh, that word's just crazy. That's insane. I don't want that readership. They won't enjoy my book. I'll take it out, or maybe use a negative keyword if, for whatever reason, that word that I probably shouldn't have had in there got a lot of clicks, and I realize I don't think those people are probably going to enjoy the book. I might include it as a negative keyword.
I've done things like Amazon will suggest authors or suggest different things. I've run Amazon ads, old AMS, received a load of particular talent, and then taken that list over to BookBub, or doing that, and then using it to create ads in that list.
I just wanted to add one other thing that's kind of unrelated, but I feel like Dave missed our show here, and I really do love KDP Rocket. When it returns like 4 versions of a name and they all look identical, I always keep all 4, because sometimes it's a hidden character, it's the name with a space at the end, and a lot of people, I think, go through and they delete out the duplicates, and they're just not really duplicates. That was my point.
Yesterday in my speech, Alex Steele recommended putting free in your negative keywords if you don't want freebie hunters. So that might be the one we want to put in there.
Ira, and only one more question after that.
My question is for anyone who wants to answer it. There's so much, as everyone in the group, I'm sure we can agree, there's often so much the publishing sky is falling and negativity, and when all these changes come. And so my question is, what is the one thing or things that you are most excited about for the future of publishing, self-publishing?
I like Richard's face at the moment.
I think that there are no limits. So the sky has been falling since I got into this industry in 2014, and I remember I was on K-boards and things were going pretty well, and I got to know people, and I'd posted some articles, and my book 5,000 words per hour had come out, and people kind of liked me, and I was making some money, but they were all doom and gloom and terrified that this new version of Kindle Unlimited was going to destroy us. And then in January of 2015, this audacious guy showed up on the boards. His name was Michael Anderle. And he started publishing books, and all these people said it couldn't be done, and he just started cranking out books that he loved, and the next thing you knew, it's Michael Anderle. So the next Michael Anderle could be sitting in this audience right now, and if you're willing to do the work and put in the time, there's no barrier you cannot break through as an author right now.
Could the next Michael Anderle actually be on the stage? Because
maybe.
I feel like, just curious if that was an option. I didn't know if we...
Maybe.
What I'm excited about is that the way it's entirely possible now that somebody out there could load up a book on Amazon, Kobo, etc., everywhere, and become a New York Times bestseller. And without the gatekeepers, without any of the giant marketing budget, without anyone in New York City saying, yes, this one will be the next big one. So it's time that one of you could be the person who hits publish one day, and all of a sudden you are at that very top. So that's what I'm excited about. That is possible.
Lives have been changed. Everything that all of these people have been doing, we've been creating entertainment for people where their lives have been changed by not only being part of this organization, but being just part of readership. And the creation of so many stories is going to get one more person every minute of every day reading. So it's not like our pool necessarily has to shrink. Our pool can increase.
Last question.
This is quick. What is your recommended pricing for short stories between 5,000 and 15,000 words?
99 cents. I wouldn't give it away for free. That doesn't really work anymore. And you can't really charge more than 99 cents unless you're like Brandon Sanderson.
Okay.
If you get up over 18K, you can charge $2.99, but you have to have a readership already in place to do that.
Scott Paul does $1.99.
I think it depends on the genre too.
Sure, it is genre. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if you heard her comment in the back, but she said it does depend on genre, and I agree on that because there are a lot of people in erotica doing short pieces, and they can charge more. Sex sells, yes.
As far as Brian has heard. or we could call him Chuck Tingle, whatever it is.
That works for me.
All right, let's thank our panelists and our guests.